All right. So this meeting will be recorded and we will have a link available after the meeting is concluded for anybody who would like it. So. All right. I think we're going to go ahead and get started. I'd like to welcome everybody to our Apple Watch presentation. My name is Jason Goldfield, and I'm the Assistive Technology Instructor here at the Florida Outreach Center for the Blind. Today, we're going to be talking about and looking at the Apple Watch. I have my very own Apple Watch here. I've only have had it for since the day after Christmas is when I got one. I never had one previously, but I've been wanting one for quite a long period of time. I know there might be some other people out there who have had previous versions of the Apple Watch who may actually have a previous version of the Apple Watch. And therefore, you actually may know a little bit more than myself. So just a couple of rules I'd like to kind of go over before we get into things and start discussing the Apple Watch and kind of showing some of the capabilities of what the watch can actually do. First of all, as a courtesy to others, we have everybody muted as they enter the room. If you happen to be unmuted, we ask that you please mute yourself. We have a host today, Mr. Manis Pacius, who is watching our list of participants and managing that for myself. We will have time for questions and answers at the end of our presentation. So please be patient for that. And also, we will be giving out a door prize at the conclusion of the workshop. However, you must be present to win. So if you leave before the presentation is over, you are not eligible to win the door prize, which will be, how appropriately, since we're talking about Apple Watches, no, we're not giving away an Apple Watch, just for anybody's information. We will be giving out a Apple gift card, which you can put towards any product that Apple sells, the Apple Watch, of course, an iPhone, an iPad, an iPod Touch, any product, or you can spend it in the App Store or iTunes Store to buy any apps that are sold and any media that you'd like to download in the iTunes Store. So that can be used online or at an Apple Store location. So we're very excited to be able to give that out. Like I said, at the end, if you are a lucky winner, we will have to get your information. So we need you to stay with us and hopefully you will be the lucky winner of our presentation. So of our door prize rather, at the conclusion of our presentation. So let's jump right into it. I want to talk first about the Apple Watch and its various types that it comes in. And I learned a lot about picking out an Apple Watch as I went through the process of picking out my own watch. It's not as simple as just saying, okay, I'll get an Apple Watch. Okay. Well, first of all, we have to talk about which type or which variant or which, more specifically, which series of the Apple Watch do you want? Now, the most current is the Apple Watch Series 6, okay? However, right around the same time that the Series 6 came out, give or take a few weeks or whatnot, they also came out with an Apple Watch SE. And for those who are familiar with iPhones, there is an iPhone SE as well. So Apple went with the SE model on the watch as well. So, and we'll talk a little bit about the differences between the SE and the 6. There's the Apple Watch Series 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. And throughout the years, just like when we've gotten our first iPhones or iPads or whatever Apple product you have, of course they come out with newer versions of that product, and they're always adding things. They're adding more memory, more speed, more capabilities to the actual device, and the watch is no exception. So I want to talk mostly about the Series 6 because that is the watch that I have. So when I went to pick out my Series 6 watch, I learned quite a bit. You just don't walk in and say, I'll take a Series 6 watch, because that's not as simple as it is. First, you have to decide on which size watch do you want. And that comes basically in two sizes. Again, as I mentioned, we're talking about the Series 6. It comes in 40 and 44 millimeters. And as far as capabilities and functions, that's all still the same. So you just have to really decide on which size fits better on your wrist, the 40 or the 44 millimeters. Typically, but not always, women generally get the 40 millimeter and men go with the 44. And that's only because, as a general rule, but of course there's always exceptions, that men generally have a slightly bigger wrist than women do. So that is why men generally go for the 44. However, I've seen some women that have bigger wrists than men. So some men would go with the 40 millimeters. And of course, with that extra 4 millimeters, if you go with the 44, you, of course, get a little bit more room for screen-wise for navigating around the screen. So that's as big as it comes. So if you're a low vision user, don't expect this to come in bigger sizes, because 44 millimeters is the limit currently. Next, you have to decide on what type of finish do you want on your Apple Watch. And everything that I just mentioned about size and type and everything else that we're going to discuss about picking out your watch depends on the price. Of course, the 44 millimeters goes up in price. Then you get into which type of finish do you want. Do you want aluminum? Do you want stainless steel? And then I believe there is a titanium version. When I went to the Apple store to look at the different types, the person in the store, the saleswoman, basically only showed me the aluminum, which is the one I actually have, or the stainless steel. And I'll be quite honest, I preferred the stainless steel. I liked the feel of it just a little bit more. However, of course, it added on approximately $300 to the price. So there we go again with our price jumping. So it jumps for about almost $300 for the stainless steel. And it also made the watch a little bit heavier as well. So now, ultimately, I didn't wind up buying the watch. I did receive this watch as a Christmas gift. It was a collaboration gift between several people. They all basically put their money together and got me various Apple gift cards, which I was able to combine. And then I had to put a little bit of money towards it to actually obtain the watch. So, realistically, the aluminum is the one I went with. And to be quite honest, it's fine. I've gotten very used to it. It is very light. So it's the lightest material out of the three. The salesperson in the store didn't even show me the highest end watch, which costs around $1,000, because she said, to be quite honest, not too many people buy that. They usually go with the aluminum or the stainless steel. So as much as I like the stainless steel, I went with the aluminum. And to be quite honest, the aluminum is just fine. It's, as I mentioned, it's the lightest. I half the time don't even realize that it's on my wrist. So I can wear it all day, very comfortable. So then you go with the type of band. So as I mentioned, this is not as simple as just picking out a watch. And I also wanted to welcome all the new, I heard a few new people come in. Want to welcome our new folks. As I mentioned, just the house rules again, really quick. You are muted. We ask you to stay muted. We will have time for questions and answers, which we'll go over those rules. And for the benefit of the new people who just came in, we are going to be giving out a door prize of an Apple gift card, but you must be present to win, which will be drawn at the conclusion of this presentation. So you have to stick around to the end to find out if you're the lucky winner. So we were basically talking about picking an Apple Watch. So then you get into the band. And the band, I think, is more confusing than the size and the finish, to be quite honest, because that goes into multiple parts itself. First of all, it depends on the type of band that you want. Now, at the time, I wasn't so picky about the band. I just said, give me the cheapest band that comes with the watch, because you can get bands that come with the watch, which is what I got. However, I did go out and buy an optional band, which is very easily done. And if you go to the right places, are actually somewhat inexpensive. Of course, like everything else, if you buy them at Apple, or if you buy them on the Apple website or in the Apple store, you're going to pay a lot more. So they gave me, and I didn't even realize what it was until after I got it home, until I opened up the box, but it's what they call a sport band. And it's actually made of Velcro. So the adjustments on it are all done through Velcro. And actually, that's not a bad thing, because this watch is actually capable of getting wet. It is water resistant up to 50 meters. So I've been told. I have not tried it in the water. I have washed like dishes and washed my hands with this. So I've gotten it wet, but you can apparently go swimming with it and put it in, submerge it in water up to 50 meters. I thought about trying to take it in the shower, which apparently you can do, but I haven't gotten that brave yet. But however, going back to the bands really quick, I got the sports band, which came with the watch. And then there's a whole ton of colors, and I can't even begin to describe to you the various colors that the actual watch comes in. So, because the bands, whether it be a sports band or a loop band or a metal band, and those seem to be the three main types, they all come in a variety of colors and finishes and types themselves. And as I mentioned, the bands are very interchangeable with the watch. They can be popped off the watch and put a new one on within a minute. So it's very easy. You don't need any special tools or anything like that. As I mentioned, I did go out and buy an actual um, extra band, a nice black leather band for my watch. And I got that actually at Best Buy. And I only paid like just under 20 bucks for it. So, you know, you can get those pretty inexpensive. Amazon is another great place. Walmart, I mean, you can buy those basically in any retailer. So, you know, you have your pick and your choice of what you'd like to go with. So for example, as I mentioned, this watch can be submerged in water. But if I were to do that, I would put my sport band on, the band that came with the watch, because I wouldn't want to get this nicer band wet. So that's basically what goes into picking out an Apple Watch. So, and it could drive you nuts trying to figure out, well, which type is right for me, which color, which size, which finish, the whole 9 yards. So now, optionally, just to throw it in there, I actually purchased, and I got this on Amazon. I got a um, screen protector bumper case that goes over my watch for more protection. That only cost me like, oh, I don't even know, maybe $10, $15. So they're fairly inexpensive. And it just popped and clicked right onto the top of the watch. So it makes the size of the watch just a hair bigger, but it gives you that extra protection as well. And that comes with a screen protector. So of course, like our iPhones and iPads and any other device that we want to protect, they do have cases and tempered glass and screen protectors and all that stuff for those devices. So why not for your Apple Watch as well? I figured this is an investment. This is something that I will hopefully be holding on to for quite a while. So I wanted to make sure that it was protected in a well protected case and whatnot. So, all right. I want to start talking about some of the reasons what the Apple Watch actually does and why someone would actually get one. Now, of course, like the Apple, like any watch, it can tell you the time. Okay. And you can do that. It does have Siri built in, just like on our iPhones, iPads, and most other Apple products nowadays. It also does have voiceover, and I am basically almost totally blind. I have a little bit of light perception, so I am unable to see the screen. And I will be letting you hear in just a few minutes what the actual watch sounds like with voiceover. The good thing is, even though it is running its own operating system called Watch OS, so it's not running iOS, which is on our iPhones, or iPad or Pad OS, which is a newer version of the operating system for the newer iPads. It runs its own operating system. However, if you're an iPhone user or even an iPad user, you are already familiar with just about 95% or so of the commands with voiceover. You're swiping, you're tapping, your double tap, single tap, swiping left, swiping right. I won't get into all those because that's not the purpose of the workshop for that today. So more or less, this watch, the Apple Watch rather, is an extension of your phone that can be used to measure various aspects of health data. It's also used for people who are avid exercise enthusiasts, people who enjoy walking, running, workouts, things of that nature. There are probably features of the watch myself that I don't take full advantage of because I'm Not much into exercise, I'll be quite honest, but that we're all individuals in that regards. Um, and also, in addition, the watch can measure your heart rate. It can perform your blood oxygen level, and it can take an electrocardiogram. So, and I believe that the numbers are fairly accurate on how it measures. Of course, you have to make sure that when you want the watch to measure all this data, that of course it's firmly on your wrist and secured with the band of your choice, because that won't happen if you're just holding the watch in your hand. It does have various sensors. It can run apps as well that are somewhat similar to our iPhones and iPads and other Apple products. In fact, when I set the watch up, one of the features that was available to me during the initial setup was it asked, would I like to copy over the apps that are compatible with my iPhone? And I said, sure, yes. So it did that. It did everything by itself. It grabbed all the data that was available on my iPhone, including my Apple ID information, because it works along with that, my Wi-Fi information, and all my apps and other settings as well. Oh, one other thing I forgot to mention is when you pick on an Apple Watch, I need to go back to that for 1 second, and I apologize. I should have mentioned this in the beginning. When you pick out an Apple Watch, you have to decide, do you want the cellular model or the non-cellular model? Basically, they call it the GPS with cellular or just the GPS model. I have the non-cellular model. And the reason why I went with that is because I did not want to incur more of a cost towards the watch, number one. And number two, if you go with the cellular version, you do have to get a data plan, which usually includes an extra line of service. If you buy an Apple Watch in any of the cell phone stores, Sprint, T-Mobile, Verizon, AT&T, any of the others, the only one they're going to sell you is the cellular model, because of course they make tons of money on selling you lines of data. So, but some people like that cellular model because then you are more free to use your watch away from your phone. From someone like myself, that didn't matter as much. So in order for me really to use a lot of the functionality on my watch, I have to have my phone fairly close by and on Wi-Fi, which I am most of the time. So while I'm at home, I can have it anywhere in the house. I'm actually here at the Florida Outreach Center doing this workshop. And of course, we have Wi-Fi here, so I can walk in the other room, leave my phone in one room, and I still have my watch available for all functionalities, as long as it's within the range of the current Wi-Fi that you're on. It will work when you're not on Wi-Fi because it feeds off of your phone. So if you're out in the car, you're riding on a bus or a paratransit or whatever you're doing, the watch will still work. You can make and receive phone calls. Again, if you like that functionality away from your phone, you have to get the cellular model. If you don't care about that as much, you can still have that capability when you're not on Wi-Fi, but you have to have your phone within range. And I do apologize, I'm not quite for sure what exactly that range is, how far the actual distance is. And later on, if someone is familiar, maybe they can comment on that when we get to our questions segment as well. So as I was saying, the phone is capable of running apps. I can make and receive phone calls. I can make and receive text messages. I can run some of the other apps that are on my phone. However, the apps that are capable or compatible with my phone are, I like to call them light apps because, and I'll give you an example. Let's see. Oh, I'll give an example. Uber. So a lot of us are all familiar with Uber. We all know what it is. We know how to use it. For those who don't, that's a whole other discussion for another time. But however, there is an Uber app that is compatible with the Apple Watch. So while you have full functionality on your iPhone to use the Uber app on your phone, I do have the actual Uber app on my watch. However, I am very limited to its functionality. Not because VoiceOver won't read what the Uber app on the watch says. It's just that the information is limited. On your phone, anybody who has a newer iPhone or even a slightly older iPhone, even if you have a phone that only has 32 gigs of memory, and of course it goes up from there, the newer phones starting at 64 gigs, on an Apple Watch, you only get 24 gigs of memory. So that's all you have. You can't buy an extra, you can't buy a higher end capacity watch. I don't really believe they sell that, at least not at this point. However, that is a vast improvement. I was working with somebody, one of our students, who had, I believe it was an Apple Watch Series 3, and they only had like 8 gigs of memory. So as you can tell, and they just got an Apple Watch Series 6 as well, fairly recently. And they actually, and they were just amazed on how much more memory was available. So that is why the apps themselves are more limited, because they're much smaller in size. I'm just trying to cover some of the differences before I actually let you hear the watch and we start actually getting into a few things, because that's what I know you all really came to hear. It does not have a camera, so there is no video component. So you cannot do anything like Zoom or anything of that nature, anything with video. There is not a FaceTime feature. However, there is something, and I am going to demonstrate this in a little bit. And I've heard about it since I got the watch, but never really got to play with it until yesterday. It's a feature called Walkie Talkie. And if you think about that, it's exactly what it is. It allows you to press on a button on the app and allow you to talk to other Apple Watch users on like a two-way radio. So, and I'm going to be demonstrating that. Hopefully we can get that to work, and to show you how that kind of really works. That's kind of really cool. So that's sort of like FaceTime, because FaceTime, you can talk to other Apple users with no charge. And this works in the same instance, and that works anywhere in the world, by the way. So you're not making a call at that point or anything. So it's sort of like FaceTime, but I call it FaceTime Lite, if you want to think of it that way. So what I want to do is I want to kind of shut up now and stop doing all the talking and actually let you hear what the Apple Watch sounds like. And you're going to recognize the voice, because it's the Samantha voice. And I have the watch actually slowed down to hopefully where most people will be able to understand it. I do have the volume cranked up to 100%. It is not near as loud as your iPhone. And for those who have iPads, which much more powerful speakers, things of that nature. You can Bluetooth it. I have not done it yet, but it does have Bluetooth capability, so you can Bluetooth this watch to an external speaker or to a pair of headphones as well. I have not done that successfully. I have not really attempted that, but maybe some of you already have. So with that being said, I'm going to take my microphone here and put this against the watch. And I'm using my external microphone hooked up on my computer. Even though I have a brand new computer, I don't know how powerful the microphone is, so I'm using my external mic so I can get a little bit better range on it. So I want to just explain really quick, and then I will jump into it, the layout of the actual watch itself. As far as buttons go, you only have 2 buttons on the whole watch. You have the crown button, which not only presses in, but also turns like a dial. And that's used for scrolling. When you press it in, when you press it once, it does one thing. When you press it twice, it does something else. When you hold it in, it does activate Siri. So yes, it does have Siri. And then there's a dock button. So many of those people would be familiar with the dock, but your icons at the bottom left part of the bottom lower part of your screen on your iPhone and iPad. So you do have a dock button as well. And that's it. Holding in the dock button also will go to the power off screen to actually completely power down the watch. It does run on a battery, which should be charged daily, depending on the use of your watch, of course. Excuse me. I just throw mine on the charger at the end of the night, and it charges up and it's fully ready for the next day. So, and what's really nice about the charger itself is that it doesn't plug in. It doesn't have a wire, like a plug, like a lightning connector, like we do on our iPhones and iPads. It's magnetized. The actual charger is magnetized. It's rounded circumference, and that actually magnetizes and clips right on to the back side of the watch. And then that way you know that the watch is being charged. So that's a little bit different. I got thrown off with that when I actually got the watch. I was like, what's this? So that's kind of a cool feature. So anyway, I'm going to jump into this, and I'm going to go ahead and press my crown button, as I mentioned, which is the one of only 2 buttons on the whole device.
Home, photos, button.
Okay. Now, usually when you hit the crown button, which is what I just did, it actually should have said the tongue, but it went to what we would be familiar as the home screen. So I'm going to press it one more time because I want you to hear the screen that has all the more important information. And we'll come back to this screen as well.
Watch face, 11:38 a.m.
Okay, so it says watch face. And I'm going to explain to you in a second what it means by a watch face. So I use VoiceOver. It does have Zoom for those who do have low vision, and I do apologize. I have not had an opportunity, and I am not familiar with the capabilities of what Zoom is capable of on the Apple Watch. Most of the features that are familiar with for those who use VoiceOver are here on the Apple Watch as well, but it's not as full functioning. And I'd imagine Zoom, while it probably has basic operations and enough for you to be able to see, I'm sure it's capable, or limited rather, in some other ways. So I'm going to swipe right with one finger.
105 new messages.
Okay. So it's telling me that I have 105 new messages, and that's text messages. That's not actually 100% true. And again, it's pulling that information from my iPhone. If I went on my phone, I certainly don't have 105 text messages.
105, 11:40 a.m.
I'm going to swipe left because apparently we weren't at the beginning.
Mail.
Okay, there's mail. So, and I'll explain what this all is in 1 second.
Unread notifications. Status bar item.
Okay, it says unread notifications, which means I had a notification that came in at some point.
Customize watch face.
Hmm.
Battery. 93% battery power. Battery.
Okay, so my battery is at 93% capacity right now. I wanted to make sure it was obviously fully charged. Of course, like all of our Apple devices, the more we use them, the quicker the battery will drain. So what you just heard, all the information about the mail, the messages, everything like that, that is called a complication. And when I first heard that term, complication, I was like, what in the world is a complication? And a complication, the best way I can kind of describe this is kind of like a widget on our phone. And for those who aren't familiar with a widget, it's sort of like a quick access icon. And you can have, depending on your watch face, and we're going to get into watch faces in a second because I want to show you this. Depending on the watch face you have, depends on how many complications or how many little icons you can have on your particular watch face. So some of the faces only allow for 3, 2, 3, some allow for 4, some allow for a little bit more than that. So my watch actually went to sleep. If you heard the little click click, that is the sound of the watch actually going to sleep. So I'm going to wake it back up by pressing the crown button, and I apologize for it not being louder if you have trouble hearing this, but I do have this as loud as it can go, and I do have it pretty much against the microphone. So
Home. Pedometer plus.
okay,
Button.
I want to go back into that watch face.
Watch face. 11:42 a.m.
All right, so I want to go in there, and I'll come back to that home screen in a second. Now I'm going to swipe down with one finger. Again, that's a familiar voiceover finger gesture for those who use voiceover.
Control center.
So your control center, we'll come back to that.
Notification center.
Your notification center. I'm going to swipe down again with one finger.
Customize watch face.
Customize watch face. And that's the one I want you to see next. So I'm going to double tap on that.
Fire and water. Customizable.
Okay.
Complications. Battery. Mail. Messages.
Well, what
An
that's
analog watch face displaying either the intense ignition of a firebrand or the turbulent dispersion of water, coruscating the outlines of the watch. Double tap to choose face.
okay.
Swipe up or down to select a custom action. Then double tap to activate.
Okay, so it's basically describing what the watch face is, what it means, and then its varying types of watch faces. Because within a watch face, you can have, with not all of them, but with some of them, you can have different types within a particular watch face. And this is something that you can play with all day long, and you can change this at any time you want. So I'm going to swipe down.
Fire and water. Customizable. 3
Oh.
complications. Battery. Mail. Messages.
Okay, I'm going to
An
stop.
analog watch face displaying either.
Okay, I'm going to stop that with a 2-finger single tap, which again is a familiar voiceover finger gesture. And it told me that there's 3 complications available for that particular face. So I'm going to swipe right.
Fire and water. Siri. Customizable. 2 complications. Battery. Your schedule. A digital watch face featuring a Siri complication and relevant information about your day. Double tap to choose face. Swipe up or down to select a custom action. Then double tap to activate.
Okay, so that's my next watch face because you can load several at a time. You can only have one face loaded at a time, but you can pick and have in a list several that you'd like. So I'm going to swipe right again.
Add new face. Siri, edit.
Okay.
Add new face.
Okay, those are the only two I have. All right, so, and if I swipe down on any of these, I'm going to actually go back.
Siri, fire and water, customizable, 3 complication,
All right.
fire and water.
All right, I'm actually going to stop it there. I want to go back to that fire and water complication. And you don't need to hear all that information again because it was already mentioned. But I'm going to swipe down on it and let you hear. I'm going to do a 1-finger swipe down.
Edit.
Okay, that's edit. If I want to edit the watch face,
Share.
I could share it.
Delete.
And I can delete it.
Activate.
And then I
Default.
can activate it. So those are basically the options I have available to me. So I can remove it. I can edit it if I want to change it, anything like that. I'm going to go back to, because I want you to hear more of a list.
Siri, add new face.
Okay, I'm going to go,
Tap to add.
I'm
Then
going to,
use the digital crown to select a face type.
okay. So it said double tap to activate, use the, and what did that say?
Add new face.
Okay, it said basically, it said use the crown to select the face. So I'm going to double tap on that.
Add new face. Activity analog.
Okay.
Cancel. Activate. Default.
And I'm going to go over to my crown. Now, as I mentioned, the crown, you can press that in once and it does one thing. But as I mentioned, it's sort of like a knob. And you can turn it either away from you or towards you.
Activity analog. Activity analog. Swipe up or down to select a custom kaleidoscope. Numerals duo.
Ah, there it goes. With this case on here, it makes it a little harder to turn that crown button.
Solar graph. X large.
Come on.
Memoji. GMT. Fire and water. Chronograph Pro.
There it goes.
Breathe. Activity analog. Liquid metal. Modular.
Ah, there we go.
Numerals duo. Pride analog. Solar graph. Utility. X large. Pride digital. Numerals to numerals. Modular. Memoji. Infograph. Gradient. Color. Breathe. Activity analog.
And we're just going to select one of these.
Astronomy. Count up.
Okay, so we're going to select that one. If I double tap on it.
11:48 a.m. Button.
Okay, so it
Double
changed.
tap to set timer.
So it
Actions available.
So it does that. And with each watch face, it only allows for certain complications. Remember, those complications are those icons. So if I swipe right.
11:49 a.m. 11:40 unread notifications. 81 degrees. Low. 66 degrees. High. 84 degrees. 80%.
Okay. So in this complication, you have the weather.
UV index. 9.0. 82%.
Okay. Gives me the UV index.
UV index. 81 degrees. Unread notifications. Stat 11:40 April 15. Breathe. Moving. 22%. Exercising. 0%. Standing. 25%. Moving. 22.
Okay, so within this actual watch face, it allows me to access specific certain complications or specific icons. So, and you can't just really add any specific complication to any one watch face. It's kind of pre-selected. So that depends on what you're going for. So with this case, as I mentioned, that's on my phone, it makes it a little bit harder for me to actually turn that crown a little bit. So that's something to keep in mind. So it can be done. And with people who have certain cases on their phones, you run into a problem where accessing your volume buttons could be a little difficult. Well, in this case, with this little bumper case on here, it gives me some problems turning that crown button. So there are a ton of faces, by the way. I know you just heard a few, but there are just a ton out there. You would go literally nuts if you went through them all day long. There's even one that's actually Mickey and Minnie Mouse. So not that the whole phone would read to you in Mickey or Minnie Mouse. It is actually the real Mickey and Minnie Mouse voices, but it would just tell you the time. The rest of it's read with the standard voiceover voices. At first, when I saw that, I was like, oh, how cool. But after a while, I said, oh, how annoying. So I got rid of that really quick. I removed it and then pretty much stuck with that fire and water one, which I'll reset a little bit later on. I'll go back and after we're done with the presentation. So, and I'm hoping that that comes across okay. I'm hoping you guys are able to hear that fairly well. Like I said, the volume is turned up all the way. So it's not meant to have a super loud speaker. If you need something louder, you may want to Bluetooth that to an external speaker or a pair of headphones. So what I want to do now is I actually want to go back to that home screen and let you hear some of the apps that I have here on my Apple Watch.
Home. Now playing.
Okay. And I want you to hear what I have available and how they're kind of integrated into the watch.
Our groceries. Button. Noise. Button.
Let's
Now
see.
playing. Noise. Button. News. Button.
And generally, they're actually in alphabetical order, which is not always the case that's with our iPhones.
Fly chart. Button. Music. 100%. Messenger. Messages. Memoji. Maps. Mail. Button. Just press record. Button. Home. Button. Heart rate. Button.
Heart rate. And we'll come back to that in 1 second.
Find people. Button.
Okay.
Fandango. Button.
There's Fandango, which you can look up movie tickets. I just recently downloaded that on my watch. I have not played with it to see what what the limitations are with that.
ECG. Button.
ECG, and we'll come back to that in a second as well.
Days free. Button.
That's days free.
Camera remote. Button. Calendar. Button.
So you have a calendar, just like on your other Apple devices.
Calculator.
You have a calculator.
Breathe. Button.
Breathe.
Blood oxygen. Button.
Blood oxygen. We'll come back to that in a second.
Apple Store. Button.
So there is an Apple Store app.
App Store. Button.
There's the App Store. There is a separate App Store that's just for watch apps. So those apps rather would not be the same as ones that are available for your phone.
Alarms. Button. Activity. Button. Activity. Button.
And that's it. And then I have some others as well. So what I want to do is, before I get into any of those that you heard and show you some others as well, I want to show you one of the features that I mentioned earlier, which is making and receiving a phone call. So I am actually going to call somebody. And I know they're out here on the meeting, so they'll be able to answer. We have Lou out here joining us. Hopefully he's still with us. So I'm actually going to call Lou, and I'm going to do it with Siri just to show you how Siri works. So just like on our phones, we have we don't have a home button or anything like that. So I use my crown button. I hold that in to use Siri. Now you don't get that little doo-doo sound, which we get when we know that Siri is on, when we're using Siri with voiceover. It doesn't have that capability here on the watch, but it does work. So I'm going to call Lou. Lou, if you're listening, hopefully you'll answer. And we'll go with that. So call Lou Crichton.
Call Lou Crichton.
And it's
Button.
ringing. And hopefully he answers. Put him on the spot here.
Volume 100%.
Oh.
I had to leave, and I wanted to, I think I had my hand up, but I just wanted to let you know that I had to leave early.
Oh, okay.
Do you want to test the walkie-talkie?
Well, we're going to. Right now I'm demonstrating how I actually make a phone call. So
Okay.
yeah, so and hopefully everybody can hear you and all that. So we're actually demonstrating that really quick. So yeah, we'll do the.
Let me share something. I'm going to be in the shower.
Oh, okay. Well, you just said that to everybody listening to our meeting, and it's on recording as well. So.
I'm going to wear it in the shower.
Okay.
I forgot it's waterproof, so I'm going to wear it in the shower. So just so.
Okay. Well, you're braver than myself. As I mentioned it, but there is a water lock feature, and I would turn that on first before you do it.
How do you do it? Oh, I don't even know that.
You got to go into, I think it's under settings. I honestly forget where it is. So yeah. So, but I would look that up first.
I'm going to leave it right by the shower door.
Okay.
All right.
All right. Oh, actually, I think it's under your control panel, control center. That's where it is.
For my watch?
Yeah, you go down under control center, and I believe the water lock feature is under there.
All right,
Okay.
I can't do it now, so I'm just taking it off.
That's okay. That's okay. All right. Well, we're gonna do the walkie-talkie next, since I want to make sure it works with you. So just stand by that for a few minutes before you get in the shower. So everybody, hey, Lou is gonna be getting nice and clean. So all right, I'll hang up here, and we'll do walkie-talkie in just a minute.
Very well done. Very well done.
All right, thank you. Okay, let's make sure he's hung up.
Activity.
All right.
Button.
Yep. All right. And a 2-finger double tap does hang up unless he hung up the phone call. I should have told him advance that I was gonna put him on the spot as my test caller. So hopefully y'all heard that. Okay. I'm gonna skip ahead to something really quick because this is something that was planned out. And since he is not going to be available, I want to get to it so that we can demonstrate it. And I mentioned it earlier, called the walkie-talkie feature. And to be the best way to explain it, it's like Apple Watch or Apple Watch FaceTime. So, because that's basically where the limit is. It only works for people who are on Apple Watch to Apple Watch. So I'm going to go ahead and load it with Siri. Open walkie-talkie.
Walkie-talkie. Heading.
Okay. Now, I noticed it when we were testing this out and getting it set up that it was a little picky at times, but hopefully this goes well. You know, with technology, when you want things to go well, they generally don't. So Anyway, so we're gonna go ahead and test this out. I'm gonna swipe right.
Blue Critter. Button.
All right, there he is.
Double tap to start walkie-talkie.
All right,
Actions available.
all right. So I'm gonna double tap to get that started.
100%. Adjustable. Loading. Image.
Okay, it says it's loading.
Checking availability.
Sometimes it takes a second.
Loading. Checking availability. Checking loading. Image. Volume. 100%. Adjustable. Loading. Image. Checking availability.
And normally it should load just like that, but sometimes it doesn't always.
100%.
Let's see here. I'm gonna get out of it and go back in.
Touch and hold to talk.
Oh, there it goes. Okay, now it's working. All right, so I'm gonna hold down.
Back button.
Okay, I'm gonna double tap and hold down my finger, and it can be anywhere on the screen, basically. There's not a particular icon or whatnot that I have to hold down on. And you should hear, after a few seconds, you should hear a beep.
Walkie-talkie. Heading.
Let's see.
95%. Blue Critter. Button. Add friends. Blue Critter.
Oh,
Button.
it got out of it.
Volume. 100%. Touch and hold to talk.
All right, we'll try that again. Oh. Lou, are you there? Come in, Lou. I think he's trying to talk. His audio is not that good.
Blue Critter.
Oh.
Button. Volume. 100%.
Oh. I think he's talking, but his audio is not that good. I think he's talking before the actual beat.
Can you hear me?
Ah, there it goes. Trying to get that beep to go.
Hey, Jason.
Touch and hold to talk. Button.
Yes, we can hear you just fine. You're coming through a little choppy there at first, but now you sound okay.
Okay. I'm glad you got me.
He let his finger go, as you can tell. Okay, that sounds good. Thanks so much. Enjoy your shower. We'll let you go. I thought he'd come back with something. Guess not. That's okay. But that's basically the idea. So before you actually start talking to somebody, you actually have to add them. And it's kind of like sending like a request to them. And they actually have to go into the walkie-talkie app and accept your invitation. So it's not like it's instant, or you can just grab somebody from your contacts. First of all, they have to have an Apple Watch. They have to have their walkie-talkie feature turned on, and they have to accept your invitation as well. So
Touch and hold to talk. Button.
let me get out of this.
Watch face. 12:04 p.m.
Okay.
Button.
All right.
Double
So-
tap to set timer.
Okay. So that's basically how walkie-talkie works. So it's a little bit more to it than like FaceTime. Is FaceTime, if you know somebody who is on an Apple product, whether it be an iPhone, iPad, or iPod Touch, or anything that uses FaceTime, you can just do it. With the walkie-talkie feature, there's a little bit more setup, and you know, when you want to talk to somebody, you have to make sure that they have their watch on, of course, that their walkie-talkie is turned on, of course, and that they're available to talk. So, and there is not apparently not a hands-free mode. So in order to talk, you have to hear that beep, that little beep, and you know that you're talking, and you actually can actually talk to that person, and that they can hear you. So that's just a little bit about the walkie-talkie. So we're going to go ahead and move on then. I'm going to go to my home screen.
Notifications. Status bar item. Home. Activity. Button.
Okay. So I'm going to get into some of the health variants of the Apple Watch, because that's mostly what it's mainly used for. You know, it's really cute where you can make and receive phone calls. So yes, there is a ringer here on the phone. So if you got a phone call, your Apple Watch will ring. There is not all the cute little ringtones that like we have on our iPhones and iPods and whatnot, or iPads. It only has this like standard ringer. And also something to keep in mind is that there is no mode for non-speaker. So anytime you're talking on your Apple Watch, whether someone calls you, you call them, anything of that nature, it's always on speaker. So keep that in mind. But as I mentioned, I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the health aspects of the watch now, kind of give that a little demonstration. I'm going to go ahead and open up the electrocardiogram or ECG app and show you how that kind of works. Open ECG.
Loading.
Sometimes it takes a second.
Hold your finger on the crown. Hold your finger on the crown.
Oh, okay, it's ready. So the way this works, it's very simple. It said, hold your finger on the crown. So that's exactly what I'm gonna do. And you're gonna hear all these like different tones. And I have to keep my finger on the crown button. And after about maybe 30 seconds or so, we'll get the results of my ECG. So here we go. Okay.
ECG. Heading.
All right, so that is finished. Now I'm gonna swipe right so you can hear results.
Sinus rhythm. ECG. Heading. Sinus rhythm. 92 BPM average. Button. This ECG does not show signs of atrial fibrillation. Apple Watch cannot check for signs of a heart attack. If you believe you are having a medical emergency, call emergency services. Not feeling well? Add symptoms. Button. 90%. Done. Button. Add symptoms. 95%. 100%.
Okay. Apparently my volume got turned down a little bit. I want to make sure that stays up.
Done. Button. ECG. Heading.
Okay, so basically it told me that my sinus rhythm or my heart rate was at 92 BPM or beats per minute, which I guess is pretty good. You know, you can tell that especially if you exercise, whether you do walking, running, you do cardio exercise, it can detect that, and your heart rate, of course, would be a lot higher, which naturally it would be. Like right now, I'm just sitting still in a chair, but if I were to start doing a bunch of jumping jacks and a bunch of strenuous exercise and whatever, or if I took a run, my heart rate would be much higher. So that's kind of a really cool feature. So next I want to show you is the blood oxygen app. Oops.
Make sure you keep your finger on the
Yeah,
chrome.
yeah, yeah.
Watch face.
I
12,
didn't
10.
I didn't mean to start another one. So we're going to open up the blood oxygen. Open blood oxygen.
Blood O subscript 2. Heading.
Okay, and we're going to swipe right.
97%. 3 hours ago. Blood O subscript 2. Heading. Blood O sub 97. Start. Button.
Okay, I'm going to start it. I'm going to double tap.
Start. Blood O subs results. Heading.
All right, let's see what that says.
Blood oxygen. 95%.
Okay. And I guess that's pretty normal. So, and of course it keeps track of your data. Everything is linked into your health app, which you can access here on your watch. And of course you can access the same information on your iPhone. So I have that all paired up together. Some people choose not to, but it makes things a lot easier sometimes just to access them right on my iPhone as well.
Done.
I'm going to hit done.
Blood O subscript 2. Heading.
Okay. Let me get out of that.
Home. App Store. Button.
Okay. And there's some other features as well. There is a workout app. And that actually you have to link if you like to play the workouts that are available. You have to pair that either to a pair of Bluetooth headphones, or you actually have to pair that to a Bluetooth speaker. Because remember, the Apple Watch is not capable of playing a lot of audio. So there is an activity tracker as well. Let me open that and show you how that is.
App Store. Apps.
Open activity.
One moment.
It doesn't look like you have an app named Active.
And
If you
no,
like,
not that.
I can help you look for it.
Open activity.
Activity. Heading.
Okay. And just remember, of course, you know, I can access all these apps right on that home screen of my phone, or of the watch rather. I was just trying to be a little bit quicker. And as you know, as you kind of heard, Siri sometimes gets things wrong. It acts a little slow. And we experience that on our iPhones and our iPads and other devices that use Siri as well. So we should always learn how to access the same information manually as well.
Activity. Heading.
Okay, I'm going to swipe right and let you hear some of this.
Rings. Moving. 23%. Exercising. 0%. Standing. 22%.
Okay, I want to talk really, really quick about rings. You have 3 rings. You have moving, standing, and exercise. And when you set this up initially, you can set goals for yourself based on your level of exercise, what type of exercise, and how many calories you're trying to burn in a given day. And it actually uses all of that data to close or to fulfill these rings on a given day. Now, truth to be told, myself, I'm not a very active person as far as moving around. And, you know, that's something that I'd like to kind of improve on in the future. So my exercise level is always pretty low or right at 0, just to let you know. But for those that are very active people that actually, you know, do exercise quite a bit, your number would be significantly higher. I usually get the standing ring closed almost every day, which means they ask you that if you sit a lot, to stand at least 12 times in a day. and stand for at least a minute during that time as well. So I'm going to go ahead and open that back up.
Activity. Heading. Rings. Moving. 23%. Exercising. 0%. Standing. 22%.
Okay, so since I put my watch on, which was right around 9 o'clock, give or take a few minutes, Eastern time, and it's what about 12:15 or so Eastern time for those who are in other time zones for the benefit of this meeting. It gives me the percentage of how often I move. Of course, exercise is at 0, which doesn't surprise me. And my standing is around 20 some odd percent as well.
Move. 24%. 106 of 440.
Okay, so it tells me, it breaks it down even further by swiping. Not only is what's the percentage, but how many calories. And right now, I have my calories set to be for my goal at only 440 calories in a day. That is really low, by the way. I really should up that calorie count. And if you as an exercise, if you're an exercise person, one who likes to exercise on a daily basis, you would set yours higher. So I've only burned 106 out of 440 calories by moving.
Exercise. 0%. 0 of 30.
Yeah, well, that's still at 0.
Stand. 25%. 3 of 12.
Okay, and again, it says 3 of 12, so which means they want you to stand 12 times in a day. And if I did that, it would detect that and count that. So if I'm going to go ahead and do that. So I'm going to move away from my microphone for 1 second. And I'm going to stand up for about a minute and see if we get a recognition on on the watch as a count of how many times I've stood. Usually what happens is you get like a little sound as a notification on your watch, which means that you completed another step towards your goal. And it does not, even with the phone, it does not detect that, it doesn't read that out loud. You would actually have to go in there and manually read that as well. So go ahead and sit back down. Probably didn't count because I don't think I stood a minute. You have to stand for at least a minute, but that's okay. You kind of hopefully get the kind of the point of that whole demonstration.
Stand. 25%. 3 of 12.
Nope.
12 a.m. 0 calories.
And actually, and it did not count it, but that's okay. I many times usually close that. I have no problem getting up and walking around and all that because, that's what I just do all day. So, and then if we keep swiping, which I'm not going to go into too much detail, it breaks it down per hour.
12:30 a.m. 0 calories.
Oh, actually, it breaks it down by the half hour, starting at midnight, how many calories you have burned. So 12 o'clock, midnight, or 12 a.m., 0, 12:30, 0. Of course, I'm sleeping during that time. So how could you burn calories when you're sleeping? And if I eventually swipe to when I woke up, which was right around 6:30, it would actually start detecting that. So I'm going to swipe into that time range and see if any of that got counted.
1 a.m. 1, 2, 2, 3, 3, 4, 4, 5, 5, 6 a.m. 6:30 a.m. 0 calories. 7 a.m. 0 calories. 7:30 a.m. 0 cal. 8 a.m. 0 8:30 a.m. 11 calories.
Ah, there we go. Okay, that's when I started burning any calories.
8 a.m. 0 calories. 8:30 a.m. 11 calories. 9 a.m. 21 calories.
Okay. And that makes sense because I was moving a lot more than I was, getting ready and the whole 9 yards.
9:30 a.m. 16 calories. 10 a.m. 19 calories. 10:30 a.m. 17 calories. 11 a.m. 6 calories. 11:30 a.m. 8 calories. 12 p.m. 6 calories. 12:30 p.m. 0 calories.
Okay. And as you notice, and I'm not going to go past that because those times haven't began yet. As you notice, starting around 11 o'clock, even though I didn't burn a lot of calories in any one given hour, the number went down because that's when we started everything here, which was 11 o'clock. We started this presentation, haven't really moved. So of course, going to burn very little in the way of any calories. So, and there's a little bit more to the activity app than that. Of course, that's all integrated into the health app, which I can access that in more detail on my iPhone, things of that nature.
Activity. Heading.
And let me get out of
Watch
that.
face. 12:21 p.m.
Okay. I want to talk about a minute about downloading apps from the Watch App Store. Like apps that you download to your iPhone or your iPad or other Apple devices, you have free apps, and then you have apps that there's a charge. So of course, you know, if there's a charge, it's going to charge your card that you have on file if you have a card on file in your iTunes account. So it's going to do it that way. I will be perfectly honest, and unless there's an easier way to do this, I find it much easier to go into my iPhone, which I can do, by the way, and access the Watch App Store in that regard. Because I have attempted numerous times to download apps myself directly to my watch from my watch. And apparently there's a point where it wants me to enter my Apple ID password. Now, I know my Apple ID password. That's not the problem. The problem is that it does not present you with a keyboard that like we have that comes up on our iPhones and iPads. So it's not like we have an on-screen keyboard that we can find the letters and tap those in and just go on our merry way. Remember, the watch screen is very limited in its size and its capacity compared to other Apple products. So what they recommend is that you either use one or two methods. Actually, there's one of several methods. One of which is pairing your watch to a Bluetooth Apple keyboard, which I do have one. I just haven't been able to been successful in doing that. Or otherwise, you can use a feature called Scribble, which, and I have not gotten this to work. And when we get to questions and answers here shortly, if anybody has used the Scribble feature, maybe you can talk about that. I have not gotten that to successfully work, but I'm also one of these persistent people to where I don't give up. I just don't say, oh, well, I can't do it. I'll move on. Now, I keep on working on something until I get it to work for me. And that's supposed to be used kind of like your finger is kind of like a pen. And you're supposed to be able to, through handwriting on your Apple Watch directly, being able to fill in that information. Now, my handwriting is horrible to begin with. So I think that may be one reason why it won't recognize anything that I try to do with the Scribble feature. So the easiest way I have found at this point for myself, and of course everybody is different, is to actually go into the watch, or go into my phone rather, and access the Watch app, which I can do, and download apps that way. So I can download them and they go right in. So, In fact, what I want to do next, speaking of that, excuse me, is I want to actually go into the settings of the watch and then show you how they're very similar to those on my phone so you get a good idea. So I'm going to go ahead and open up settings, open settings.
On it. Sleep. Heading.
Okay, no, that was sleep.
Use sleep to schedule your wake
No,
up.
we don't
alarm.
want
Watch
that.
face.
Open settings.
1 sec. Delete Siri and dictation history. Delete Siri and delete Siri, delete Siri, delete Siri and dictation interact. Watch face. 12:25 p.m.
Some reason it's not opening on my settings. I'll find it manually.
April 3. Move 81 degrees. Home. App alarm. Apps. App. Break. Cal. Cam. Day. EC. Fan. Find. P. Card. Rip. Home. Just press. Mail. Map. Meme. Message. Messenger. Music. My chart. News. Noise. Now. Arc. Pedometer. Phone. Photos. Pillow. Podcast. Reminder. Settings. Button.
There we go.
Delete Siri and dictate. Delete Siri. Delete Siri and dictate. Delete Siri. Delete Siri. Delete Siri. Delete Siri. Delete Siri and dictation interactions currently associated with this Apple Watch from Apple servers.
Ah,
Data that has been sampled to help improve Siri and dictation.
all right. Tell you what. I'm going to actually just do it here on my phone only because I think last time I was in settings for some odd reason, I was in the Siri settings and I couldn't get out of it. So, and that's okay. That's okay. We'll just demonstrate it here on the phone and you'll be able to hear it a little bit better. So give me 1 second while I just get my phone out.
Help. 18 minutes ago. ECG recording available. You can view your report in the Health app. Love. Xfinity Connect. Safari.
Okay, and I'm going to slow this down.
Characters. Words. Speaking rate.
Okay, give me 1 second.
45%, 50%.
Okay, and I'm going to turn up the volume. Now I'm going to go into this. I'm going to go into the
Settings.
I'm,
Edit mode.
okay, I'm not going to go into the settings of my phone because that won't help us with that. I'm going to open up the actual watch app on my phone. Open watch.
Watch. All watches. Button.
Okay. I'm going to swipe right so you can hear some of this.
Jason's Apple Watch. Search. Search. Dictate. My faces. Heading. Edit faces. Fire and water. Fire and water. 30. 0. Count up. Navy blue. Notifications. Button.
Okay. And there I can adjust my watch faces right on my phone and it will sync that right to the watch from the phone. So that's kind of really cool. In fact, that might be a little bit easier to actually adjust that because if you have trouble turning the crown or swiping on the watch, you can definitely access this right on your phone.
App view. Button. Dock. Button. General. Button. Display and brightness. Accessibility. Siri. Button.
So again, you get a lot of the same options that you have from your iPhone or your iPad.
Sounds and haptics. Passcode. Button. Emergency SOS. Privacy. Activity. Button. App Store. Button.
Okay.
Blood oxygen. Button. Breathe. Button. Calendar. Button. Clock. But contacts. Hand washing. Button.
Ah, hand washing. I'll come back to that in a second. Almost forgot to mention that. That's kind of a cool feature.
Health. Button. Part. Button. Mail. Button. Maps. Button. Messages. Music. Noise. Phone. Photos. Podcasts. Sleep. Walkie-talkie. Button.
There's that walkie-talkie.
Wallet and Apple Pay. Button.
Yes, Wallet and Apple Pay. Yes, it does have Apple Pay capabilities. So I have not done Apple Pay on my watch directly. I've done it on my phone, but I have, but it is capable of doing that if you have it set up to do so.
Weather. Button. Workout. Button.
There's workout.
Nike Plus Run Club. Installed on Apple Watch. Heading. Apple Store. Button. Day is free. Fandango. Just press record. Button. Messenger. Button. My chart. But our groceries. Pedometer plus plus. Below. The weather. Button. Tile. Button. Uber. Button. Weather gods. Button. Available apps. Heading. Audible. Install. CNN. Install. Outlook. Install. Pandora. Install. QVC. Install. Trivia Crack. Install. TuneIn Radio. Install. Walgreens. Install. YouTube Music. Install. Vertical scroll bar.
Okay.
Install.
And that's basically the settings that you would find directly on your Apple Watch. So I want to kind of break it down what it basically was going over. It was going over, first of all the various options, the different areas you can go into. Then it went into the apps that are on my phone, but were also mirrored over to the Apple Watch during the setup, and then available downloads of apps that I have on my iPhone, but are not currently available or that are compatible that I can put on my Apple Watch as well. So I want to go into the App Store really quick of the for the Apple Watch. Let me just go back.
Outlook, install, CF, install, Audible, available, weather gods, Uber, top, the web, fill up, 6, head up, artwork,
Go
my chart,
back.
message, just press read, Fandango, button, days free, but Apple Store, installed on Apple Watch, Nike +1, workout, weather, wallet and Apple, walkie-talkie, sleep, podcast, photo, phone, no, music, messages, maps, mail, but card, but health, button, hand washing, contacts, club, button, calendar, breathe, but blood oxygen, App Store, button,
Wow, okay, there we
automatic
go.
downloads, on,
Okay, hang on, let me slow this down.
55%, 50%,
Somehow the speed got turned up. Let me get away from that.
volume,
Okay,
settings,
there we go. Because apparently if I swipe up, because my rotor was actually turned to speak trait. For those who use the rotor on your iPhone, you actually have that as well on your Apple Watch. So here I am in the App Store for the actual Apple Watch.
automatically download new app purchased, automatic update, automatically down, tab bar, selected, my watch, face gallery, discover, tab, 3 of 3.
Okay, I'm going to go into Discover.
Welcome to Apple Watch. Get to know Apple Watch Series 6. View on apple.com. Apple Watch User Guide. Get more from your watch. Customize your watch. View and tips northeast arrow. A photo containing a clock. Health and fitness. View and tips northeast arrow. Explore watch apps. View in the App Store northeast arrow. A blue and white logo on a black tab bar. Explore watch apps. Selected. Explore App Store.
Okay. All right, and it should be loading.
Apple Watch apps.
Yep,
Heading.
there we go. Okay, it's getting worried there for a second. So now I'm in the actual App Store for Apple Watch apps. These are apps that are not going to really be found on your phone, but exclusively directly on your watch.
Great on Apple Watch. Audible audiobooks and podcasts. Listen to new Audible originals. Button. New app. Sleep details for watch. Learn about your sleep habits. Button. And new update. WatchSmith. Easily customize your watch face. Button. A group of multicolored circles on a green surface.
And of course, I haven't been in here in a little bit. So since they, since the last time I was in here, they actually added quite a bit as well. And they're always, just like the regular App Store that we use for our iPhone, our iPad, the actual Apple Watch apps, the Watch Apple Store always gets new additions as well.
Now on Apple Watch. Breathe. Editor's choice. I translate converse. Converse in 38 languages. Button. And editor's choice. Sleep cycle. Sleep. Great on Apple Watch. Weather. The Weather Channel. Great on Apple Watch. Pandora. Music and podcast. Great on Watch OS 7. Create the ultimate watch face. Customize like never before. Button. An illustration of a person sitting in a chair.
Okay. So, and it's of course giving me more apps to get more faces if we didn't have any more than what we did. If I went through all the faces, which I can access directly on my phone for my watch, you would hear a lot more than what we heard earlier. So I'm going to double tap on this app here just to show you.
Apple Watch. Create the ultimate watch face and browse our curated suggestions with WatchOS 7 button. Dismiss article. With the new WatchOS, Apple Everyday Essentials. We customize the infograph modular watch face here. In addition to messages and carrot weather, we included Pedometer Plus to track your steps, Waterminder to track your water intake, and Outcast for streaming great podcasts. Artwork. Image. Apple Watch. Add watch face. Button. Self-care. Heading. This beautiful, uncluttered face puts your self-care must-haves a tap away. Take a meditation break with Breathe. Relax. Find focus. Or drift to sleep with Angel's AI-generated soundscapes. Chill out by coloring with Coloring Watch. It's really fun. And take a moment to reflect in your journal with Day One.
Okay. So we're going to go ahead with that suggestion.
Apple Watch. Add watch face. Button.
So I'm going to add this watch face.
Cancel. Button. Add infograph modular watch face. Heading. This face includes complications from free apps you can get on the App Store. A photo of an Apple Watch. Continue.
I'm
Button.
going to double tap on that.
Include complication. Heading. To use this complication, download the app from the App Store. A photo of an Apple Watch. Carrot Weather. The crazy powerful weather app. Button.
Okay, so it wants me to download this app.
Cellular. 2 of 4 bars. Signals FOCB.
So it wants me,
73%.
okay, so it wants me to double tap. I'm going to use my side button on that.
Hold View Reader. An illustration of a person writing. Hold View Reader.
Oops, hang on.
FOCB. Awards. Editor's Choice. 30K ratings. Share. In-app purchase. Get. But the crazy powerful weather app. Get.
Oh, there it is. Okay, I have to double tap on get. Just like we do on our,
Double click to install. Confirm with side button.
okay, now
Side button.
that's what
Double
I'm going
click
to
to
do.
install.
So I'll do that.
Face ID. App Store. Heading.
Okay. We'll see if it actually did it.
Cancel. Button. App Store. Cancel. Current weather account. Go install. Button. Face not recognized.
Oops. And of course, good old Face ID. So we'll try that again.
Sign in. Button. Forgot password. App Store. Heading. Cancel. Sign in with Apple ID. Enter the password for Goldfield 7. Secure text. Sign in. Button.
Okay. I'm actually not going to do that because I don't want y'all hearing my Apple ID password. But I think you kind of get the idea. Because there was a recent update to the Apple Watch. They always come out with watch updates that are very similar to our iPhones and iPads. The watch also gets updated with watch software updates. And because of that, it wants me to sign into the App Store. But if I were signed in, it would have gotten installed and it would have downloaded with no problem. So I wasn't aware of that. Otherwise, I would have signed in previously. So that is why it wants me to sign in, because of the software update. So if I were have done that, it would have actually downloaded and it would have appeared on my watch in just a minute. And then I could have used the watch face that it wants me to use, plus that new complication of this other app as well. So I'm going to put my phone down here for 1 second. And actually, I want to stop at this point and allow you guys to be able to ask some questions. I know we were kind of all over the place and we haven't even covered, everything, of course, that this watch is capable of doing. There are probably things that I am not aware of, as far as what its capabilities are. I'm always learning more and more about the device every single day. I'm like I didn't know that. I'm like, wow. So I don't have the privilege of someone sitting down with me and showing me how to use it. I'm one of these people that likes to just fiddle with it and figure out things on my own. So that's kind of how I work. So we're going to ask questions and we're going to use the raise hand method. And I'm just going to go over those rules really quick. Right now, everybody is muted. So Manis, if you can get ready for the hand raising. So to raise your hand on Zoom, if you are on a Windows computer, it is Alt-Y. That is the keyboard command for raise your hand, Alt-Y. And when your name is called to unmute yourself, it's Alt-A. If you are on an iPhone or iPad, to raise your hand, you go down to the bottom right part of your screen, and there's a more button. You go under that. If you're using VoiceOver, you have to double tap to open that up. And one of the options under there is raise hand. And Manis will see your raised hand and call on you. And to unmute yourself, you'll be back on the main screen of Zoom. And then there's a unmute button. You'll hear that, you double tap on that. If you're on a Mac computer, I believe the command for that is Command-Shift-Y to raise your hand, and to unmute yourself, it's Command-Shift-A. If you're on the telephone, we do have a few telephone users with us. It is *9. *9 on your telephone keypad will raise your hand when you're called on. To unmute yourself, please wait until you're called on. To unmute yourself, it is *6. So with that being said, do we have any raised hands?
Yes, we do. We have Vicky.
All right, Vicky, if you're okay.
Yes.
All right.
Yes. Hi, I just
Hi.
got my Apple Watch Series 6 in November. And with other things going on this winter, I didn't really get to grips with it until about 3 weeks ago. I will say one thing. A friend of mine, before I got my watch, this lady is blind. She actually encouraged me to get a watch with cellular data. I know it's personal choice because I probably might not have done it. However, I just wanted to let you know my experience. I haven't used the cellular data that much out and about yet, but I did not have to set that plan up in the Apple store when I went. And matter of fact, if somebody wanted to buy a watch and think, well, maybe I don't want cellular now, but I might want it later down the road, they would have that option. And you can use it on Wi-Fi. The other thing is I use Verizon Wireless as my carrier. And I really just have to pay $10 a month to have that cellular plan. And if I don't want to keep it or have it, I don't have to. The other thing I was going to say, I have Apple Pay on my phone. I've not used it on my watch yet, but the same friend that told me about getting cellular data, and I know it's personal choice, said that with the watch, you can simply hold it up to the reader at the cash register, and you don't have to enter anything in, no password or anything. So I'll have to try it out myself. But again, I just thought I'd pass this along.
Okay, great. And thanks so much for sharing your experience. I didn't know. I thought when you got a cellular model, if you got the cellular model on the watch, you had to get a data plan like right away. So
No.
I appreciate you clarifying that.
Right.
So yeah, so I guess it's optional. So
well, when I went to Apple, when I ordered the watch and I called Apple Store first and to discuss the different bands and this sort of thing, I ordered it on the phone with them and then went to pick it up. And they said, now, do you want to watch with only Wi-Fi or cellular data also? And I said, well, I wanted the cellular data, but again, I had this watch, and when I started learning it, I didn't have cellular on, and I didn't need to because I have Wi-Fi here at home.
right.
So you could actually get it and then If you didn't want to use that plan, you wouldn't have to. It's not set up. I had to call Verizon to set it up,
Oh, okay.
the plan.
Great.
So
Okay.
I did not, just the watch had that capability, but the plan was not set up at Apple. You have to call your carrier.
Okay.
At least,
right,
at least that's how Verizon works it anyway.
Yeah, right.
So-
No, and I appreciate that. And the reason why I said that you know, if you go to a cell phone store, you have to get
Right.
that data plan is because I know somebody who bought an
Oh.
Apple Watch at their, I
Yeah.
think it was AT&T store,
It might, yeah.
and they pretty much roped them in, said, oh, well, since you're getting the Apple Watch, now you have to get a
Oh.
data plan. And they didn't tell
Sure.
them that they had the
Oh.
option.
Oh,
And they weren't any known to the wiser either. So
right. Well, maybe in AT&T, they only sell watches with cellular data for all we know, who knows? But
Right.
anyway, I just thought I'd
exactly.
pass that along.
Okay, no, I appreciate it. Thank you so
Yes.
much.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Thank you. We have quite a few hands, Jason. So
All
we're
right.
gonna go with Miss Judy.
All right, Judy, go ahead. You can
Hi,
unmute.
Jay.
Hi.
My question is, do they take trade-ins on your Apple Watch the way they do on iPhones?
Yes, they do, from what I've been told. Of course, depending on the condition of your watch and all that, of course, you know, like every year they come out with a newer Apple
Right.
Watch every year. So, you know, you can trade your old one in and get, you know, whatever they appraise it for. You know, and of course, depending on what features you may decide to upgrade or you may decide to hold on to what you have.
I
So-
wonder if you can buy a used Apple Watch.
Not at the Apple store. You probably can, like on eBay or
Right.
you know,
I
through
was
one of
just
those
curious.
websites. Oh yeah, you can buy pre-owned. Sure, you can buy pre-owned phones. So sure, you can buy pre-owned watches as well.
Well, I didn't know what the Apple store did when they took them for trade-ins. What did they do with all the ones they have? Sell
Yeah,
them to Amazon or somebody?
I really don't know, to be perfectly honest.
Right.
But I don't think you can buy like a pre-owned watch like
Okay.
at the Apple store. So
Thank you.
all right. I do
All
know like on
righty.
Amazon, they are selling, they're not pre-owned, they're supposedly new, but they are older model watches as well. So,
Uh-huh.
you know, and of course, if you don't mind that, you can get one for a good deal.
Good. Thank you.
All right, thanks.
All right. Thank you, Miss Judy. We have Shelly Sawyer.
Ah, Shelley, go ahead.
Unmute yourself. Oh, there
Yes.
you go. You're good.
Actually, I no longer have a question. When Vicky was speaking about the cellular, the data plans, I was kind of confused because at first, because you had said you didn't have a cellular plan and then you made a phone call and I was forgetting about, you know, what you could do with wireless and what you needed a data plan for. So
Right.
between the two conversations, that's cleared up for me. So
Okay.
thanks.
Yeah, because I'm here on Wi-Fi and I have my phone right here next to me. So that's how I was able to make the phone call.
All right then.
All right.
All right. Thank you. Next, we have Joyce.
Okay, Joyce, go ahead.
Unmute yourself.
Unmute, please.
Oh, the audio now unmuted.
Yes, thank you. My question may not
Hand
be
now lowered.
particular what about it, but I use a continuous glucose monitoring system that is called Dexcom. It in turn, I can get readings on my watch and I can get readings on my phone, but the phone has to be near the watch or within a certain distance. Is that, and I basically use Wi-Fi. I don't know if I have any data plans, but is that something that's usually that, or with the data plans, do you have to have your phone near things? Can you walk out the door with just your watch and do capable things, or do you have to have the phone with you?
That's a really good question. And again, so if you don't have a cellular model of your watch, you have to be within the range. So, so if you're on Wi-Fi, I could go, like I said, I'm here right now at where I work at the Florida Outreach Center, and it's not that big of a building. I don't know how many square feet we are, but we're not that big. But anyway, I could walk around the whole building, leave my phone here where I'm at in my office, and walk around the whole building and still be connected with no problem and still get the same information. So yeah, you have to be, if you don't have cellular on your watch, you have to be within range of your phone in order to keep track of that. But you mentioned something very interesting about the glucose monitor that you have. Of course, it's not confirmed, and I don't know how it's going to work and how accurate it is. So, but I have heard through several sources that you read, of course, Apple's really hush hush about things till they actually happen. When the new Apple Watch 7 comes out, which is generally in the fall, there is a rumor that it will have a glucometer reading meter on it as well, which should be pretty exciting for some people.
Oh, us diabetics, absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, I'm on the low end of diabetic myself, so believe me, I understand. So if that's the case, if it has a glucometer reading, because I hate sticking my fingers and I don't have any of those non-stick readers or whatever, I might be looking to upgrade my watch if I can get a good trade-in, because I keep my watch in good shape. So, but we'll have to determine that when it actually comes out and if that feature is actually there.
I have one other question.
Yes.
Is there a big difference between the 5 and the 6?
Oh, it really kind of depends. There are a lot of features that are available on the 5 that people are okay with. So if you don't need all the features of the 6, which has like EKG or ECG feature and some of the other features as well, then there's no reason to get the 6. Like the iPhones, some people like their older iPhones, and when newer iPhones come out, they may say, oh, but it has this and that and the other. I go, well, but I don't need that. I don't use that. Then you keep your old device. I always say the device that you have, if it's working and if it has the features you want and it's running properly, then no need to go out and rush out and get a new feature or a new device rather. Yes. One of the nice features on the Series 6 that's available that I don't think is on the 5, unless I stand incorrect, is it has something called fall detection. So now, unfortunately, I have not had to test this, but if you're wearing your watch and you fall, it will either call your emergency contacts that are on your phone or will call 911.
Okay.
So that's
Thank
really
you.
good, especially if you're prone to falls or if you're elderly and you're prone to falls. It does have that feature as well.
Excellent. Thank
So
you.
I hope that answers
All
your
right.
question.
Thank you. Next, we have Joanne.
Okay, Joanne, you can unmute.
Please unmute yourself.
Hi.
Hi.
This is a great presentation. Actually, I just got my Apple Watch 6 a couple days ago. So it's kind of overwhelming, really, some of the things. But I had a couple questions. One was about how you close apps, like compared the app switcher on your iPhone. And also if you know of any tutorials that I could get to, because there's just so much to learn. And I didn't really see a lot online. So there's the 2 questions that I had. And the
Okay.
distance that I read for the iPhone, between the iPhone and the iWatch, is supposed to be 30 feet.
Okay. Well, first of all, thank you for clarifying that distance, because I did not know that. So that's why I'm saying, that's why I'm depending on you guys also. If you have any information that I wasn't sure of, please speak up, and I appreciate that. As far as closing apps, so the way you do that is, as you mentioned, you have the crown button and the dock button. If you press the dock button, it kind of goes to your dock, and then if you swipe down, one, and it will say remove, and then you double tap with that, and it will remove it. So
Oh,
that's how you close it. So
okay.
yeah, so it's kind of like the iPhone. You kind of go to your app switcher, but they don't have
Yeah,
an app switcher on the watch. So that's the
right.
closest thing to it. So yeah, you hit
Okay.
your dock
Because I
button.
probably have a lot of things open.
Yeah,
So,
and that's really common. I mean, honestly, I forget half the. I'm really good about closing stuff on my phone through the app
me too.
switcher, but I'm
Yeah.
not good about closing stuff on my watch.
Okay.
So it's always good to go into that dock, hitting that dock button, and of course, you have whatever's running. You just swipe down with one finger. It doesn't say close. It just says remove. Well, don't think that oh my gosh, I'm removing. I don't
I
want to
know.
delete
That's
it.
what I
No,
was.
it's not. It's actually not going to delete it. It's just going to
Okay.
remove it from the dock, or comparable would be the app switcher.
Okay. Thank
Okay,
you.
you're
And
welcome.
about tutorials, do you know
Oh
of any?
yes, I'm sorry. Yes,
That's
there
okay.
are. Yeah, there actually is. If you go to appleviz.com,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, there actually should be quite a bit out there as well. In addition, are you familiar with Hadley?
Yes.
Okay, Hadley has, and I just went up there the other day to look because I was curious myself, figuring maybe I could take some lessons from them. They really changed their whole interface. Now it's like self-taught. They don't really have the correspondence courses. It's sort of like you download and learn it as you go along. So you can
Right.
sign up and download there, and it's always, of course, it's free. You can download and listen to their tutorials as well.
Okay.
Are you also on, by chance, do you have WhatsApp?
No, I don't have WhatsApp.
Okay, well then never mind, because there's groups on WhatsApp, and one of them is called the Apple Watchers, and it's just a whole discussion group on WhatsApp about Apple Watch. So
Okay. Well, thanks
and
for the
there's a lot of other resources, but those are the ones that come to mind.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, I don't see any other hand, Jay.
Okay, no other raised hands. All right, guys. And as the people who have mentioned who they just recently got their watch, or they've had it for a little while, but they're just recently getting into them, or you've been a long time Apple Watch user, you're always learning more and more. It's like our phones, it's like our iPads, or if we have any other Apple devices, we don't learn it all at once. It's impossible. So we kind of pick up things as we go along with the watch. I'm learning things as I go along, like that walkie-talkie feature. I saw it from the beginning, but I didn't know what it was, to be quite honest, and I just recently, when I actually got to try it for the first time yesterday. So I thought that was kind of cool to really, try that out. So anyway, and there's so much more that we can get into, but I don't want to get into a whole ton of features. There's so much. It's like our phones. We could be here for hours just talking about our iPhones, our iPads, about favorite apps we use, things of that nature. And then, down the road, we can actually maybe revisit this topic as another part 2 workshop and talk about some of the newer apps that come out, because there's always new apps coming out for the Apple Watch. So anyway, we don't have any more raised hands at this time, Anis?
No, not at this time.
Okay. All right. So what we're going to do at this time then is we're actually going to do our drawing. So for those who did not hear, if you came in a little bit late, we actually are going to be giving out an Apple gift card. So if you win, please, if we call your name, we are going to be, Manus is going to pick a winner at random through our list of users. So don't worry, it's not me picking the name. So I'm not even looking at our list of participants. How many people do we have so far, Manus?
We have one last newcomer, and we have 19 at this time.
19 at this time. All right, so that's okay. That's all right. We appreciate everybody coming. So if you win, when everybody else hangs up, we're gonna let everybody hang up when we conclude here in just a few minutes. And if you could stay on the line, if you're the lucky winner, and we're gonna get your information and we'll get your Apple Card out to you either through, I know we can have it emailed if you have an email address, or you might be able to have it mailed to you. We'll do that directly through Apple, so we don't actually have the gift card here physically. And it will be in the amount of, it will actually, oh, actually, I was getting a phone call on my Apple Watch, on my phone, which went to my watch. Excuse me. So we'll get that out to you. We'll get that out to you. So with that being said, Manus, are we ready to pick our winner?
Yes, indeed. I don't know if Carolyn has any last announcements or any upcoming events before we select our winner.
No, I guess not. All right.
She's probably on mute.
it
Just
might be.
any announcements upcoming. I don't know. We have a book club on the 29th at 12:30. All right.
All right. All right. We'll go ahead and move on to our winner then.
Okay. Drum roll, please.
All right.
And our winner today is Ms. Joanne S.
All right, Joanne. Congratulations. All right. Could you identify yourself?
Thank you. It's me. I'm the one that
All
asked the
right.
question.
Just stay on.
Log on.
All right. Congratulations. You're the lucky winner of our
172,
Apple gift
070,
card.
Board
So
left
just
the meeting.
stay on for a few minutes after the conclusion. We're going to be concluding here in just a minute, and then we'll get your information. Okay. So
Thank
don't
you.
hang up when everybody else does. Don't worry. We won't hang
Kelly
up.
Piper left the meeting.
We'll be here. Okay.
Okay.
All right. So
Alder Fuller, SE in the
congratulations.
meeting.
All right, guys, I really want to thank you all for coming out and joining us today on our Apple Watch
Muted button to activate,
presentation
press space bar.
here at the Florida Outreach Center. I want to thank them and Carolyn Lapp, our executive
David Goldfield
director,
left the meeting.
for allowing us to put this workshop on. If you'd like to join our mailing list, our Florida Outreach Center for the Blind, we're a training facility here in West Palm Beach, Florida. And I am, as I mentioned, I'm the assistive technology instructor. We do have classes also in Braille, independent living, mobility, and we offer support and other activities. So, and you can find us on the web if you'd like to learn more about us. As I mentioned, we do have a mailing list, and we invite all of you to join our mailing list so you can learn about other announcements. We're going to be putting up a copy of this meeting. And as a link, and to join that mailing list, it's on the groups.io server. So if you're familiar with that, so you would send a blank email to Florida Outreach Center plus the plus sign, then the word subscribe at groups.io. So that's excuse me, Florida Outreach Center plus subscribe at groups.io. You'll get a blank email back. Once you send it, you'll get a blank email. Just open that up and then just hit the reply command on your mail program of choice. Send it without typing anything in, and then you will be added to our mailing list. So we invite all of you to actually join that. We'd love to have you part of our mailing list to learn about other announcements and other information that we send out. So anyway, we're going to go ahead and conclude. Once again, I want to thank you all for coming out, taking time out of your very busy day to be joining us today. Hopefully you learned something. Hopefully you enjoyed yourself. And for those who have Apple Watches, we hope you continue to learn and explore and grow with your device. And for those who don't, you may want to consider one. If you think that this is a device that's right for you, you know, feel free to go to an Apple store or any store that sells the Apple Watch. Check them out. See if it's something that you could possibly use. So As I mentioned, my name is Jason Goldfield, so it's been a pleasure today. A huge thanks to Manis for being our wonderful host and moderating for us as well. You managed, you're a huge help as always.
Thank you,
And
sir, and
thank
thank
you
you
so
for the
much
good-
again. And you all have a great rest of your day.
All right. Thank
And
you,
Joanne,
Jason.
if you could stay on the line and I will be with you in 1 second, okay?
Okay.
All right, so don't hang up.
All
Thank you
right.
very much, everybody. Joanne will be with you in 1 second. I'm gonna go ahead and end the recording.